Hi, welcome to Laura's View and Tarot 2. I am so glad you're here. Today's date is Sunday, March 2nd, 2025. In the news this week, on last week, on Friday the 28th, President Zelensky met with Vice President Vance and President Trump in the Oval Office. The meeting, which was intended to be cordial, didn't end up that way. In fact, Zelensky was invited to leave the premises. And he promptly went to Europe, and the European notables gathered around him and pledged that they would support him. And England made a big show of writing a big check for Zelensky, but even as big as that check was, it was only 1/100th, 1 penny on the dollar, what he had hoped to get from the United States. Now, it's if you're not aware of what was planned for that meeting, although either way it went, Trump was a winner, and I'll explain that in a minute. The U.S. was offering to go into partnership with Ukraine for some rare earth minerals. And part of the proceeds from that, the profits from that, would help over time Ukraine to pay back some of the hundreds of billions of dollars that they have received in their war efforts from previous administrations. Now, the entire exchange was the media was invited to be part of. This was a stroke of genius in Laura's view on the part of the president, because if it went well, it was a great photo op. If it didn't go well, they couldn't they being the mainstream media or people who aren't in favor of the changing policies and shift of support going to Ukraine, they'd have no reason to say that that they were only being told it went poorly, that it was just misinformation, because we saw it evolve in real time on camera as the meeting devolved. And in my opinion, Zelensky threw out a veiled threat or two and got shut down for that. And oh my goodness, it was quite theatrical. And but here's the thing: if they had had the signing, it would have been a great photo op. When they didn't have it, it was obvious why they didn't have it, and no one is to blame but, the parties involved. So, and the parties involved were offering, hey, we're not going to give you soldiers. We're not going to put our men over there. We are not going to buy you more ammunition and send more weapons, but we'll go into partnership with you. And Zelensky didn't want to go for that. Now, it's probably good to remember that President Zelensky has canceled elections because of martial law, because of the conflict. He has all sorts of personal interests in keeping a conflict going, because if his country is at peace, he has to restore the constitutional privileges that have been suspended, including but not limited to an election. So here we are today, a couple days later, and just wondering what's going to happen with that deal. I'm going to take you to share screen over on Truth Social. President Trump posted a very good analysis by someone that I want to read to you, and then we're going to use that as the framework for our topic with the tarot cards on this subject. So 1 second while I get you to that share screen, okay? By the way, little rabbit trail here, has nothing to do with politics. If you've been following me for any length of time, you know that a few months back, I adopted a kitten that had been very poorly socialized. She doesn't appear on camera much. She has once or twice, and people have asked for her. Well, it may be hard to believe, but little Nova is in this video. You see, when I went to get the tarot cloth out of the cabinet here where I keep them stored, Nova was there. So you may see a little nose or a couple of eyes or a little bit of fur today. That's Nova. She refused to move. It very much limited the choice of tarot cloths I had to go through because I didn't have the heart to move her. So anyway, she is here in the video sending us energy, and I doubt we're going to see much of her. But if you see something back there, that's what that is. Now, if you see an orb or something, sometimes we have little guests that visit us, and hey, that's always special when that happens. And I love it if you notice something like that, put it in the comments, and I'll edit the video description box and say at what point that happened. So, because we do have some unexplainable little flashy visitors at times that join us here at Laura's View and Tarot too, believe it or not. We have free will on that, right? Okay, I'm taking you to that share screen. Sorry for the rabbit trail, but I wanted you to know that Nova was here and she's fine and well. And finally, after a lengthy wait, she has been spayed, and because I believe responsible pet owners should do that. And she's fully recovered from that too. So if you had heard about that happening, know that she is just fine. It went through fine. Okay, back on track. And here we have it. Now Zelensky will have no choice but to back down and accept Trump's terms. But here's the genius part. Trump is actually protecting Ukraine without dragging the US into war. By negotiating a mineral deal, Trump ensures that Americans will be involved in Ukraine's mining industry. This prevents Russia from launching an invasion because attacking Ukraine would mean endangering American lives, something that would force the US to respond to. Trump played both sides like a master chess player. In the end, Zelensky will have no choice but to concede because without U.S. support, Ukraine cannot win a prolonged war against Russia. And once U.S. companies have mining operations in Ukraine, Putin will be unable to attack without triggering massive international consequences. Don't underestimate Donald Trump. In this game of chess, he's 10 moves ahead of everyone. And again, if that trade deal goes through, then Zelensky needs to do the right thing and restore constitutional privileges and this forced conscription that's happening in his country, and allow those elections to proceed. Stop that stranglehold. He is even commandeered and is broadcasting. So it's a state run all the way, guys. So who's the fascist here? Okay, let's ask the universe about this situation. Is that short analysis I shared with you fairly accurate? Is going to be the yes or no element of this question. Is Zelensky going to have to sign that trade deal and concede to those terms rather than prolonged conflict support plus additional insights and information the universe wants us to know? Let's find out. I'll switch the camera. You can watch me work with the cards. We'll discover that answer together. Okay, so was that political analysis fairly accurate? Zelensky is ultimately going to have to concede to that trade deal rather than the conflict support he would prefer, plus additional insights and information the universe wants us to know. Okay, we have the judgment card. Then we have the Six of Swords, kind of a soft yes already going on here. More information? You guys don't need me to even tell you what's going on here, do you? We have the Six of Pentacles. Knight of Pentacles. I'm just laughing because the answers are so self-evident to me, and if they're not to you, I will explain as we go. So excuse the chuckle. It's just that I'm always amazed at the answers we get. We got a yes as far as the yes or no element to our question. So Zelensky is going to agree to that trade deal offer. King of Swords and the Lover's card. Nice looking future here. Okay, we'll get a couple more cards before we're done. Okay, so the situation is indicated by the Judgment card. The Judgment card is kind of a results and consequences, and it's usually a reflection of past actions. So, yeah, the situation here is Zelensky and his leadership is kind of the topic here. The what's good to know is ultimately what's going to happen here is that taking his country from a place of chaos and difficulty and starting to prioritize innocent life is going to, it needs to be taken into consideration. And that's part of what is being quietly emphasized with him, with the trade deal as opposed to armaments, etc. And it's something that is going to become a factor whether he likes it or not. Recent past, we have the generosity card here, and the United States has been incredibly generous with the conflict support that happened with our previous administration. Incredibly generous about that, and we know, or I'm of the Laura's view, that this was predominantly to multifaceted in that it was money laundering, because Zelensky does say he didn't get as much as we say he sent him. Okay. And then the other thing was that there are confirmed biolab presences in Ukraine, and there was an effort to keep them safe and the shenanigans that they engage in safe. So that was part of why it had so much support with prior administration. It had nothing to do with keeping someone's geographical borders intact and or anything like that in Laura's view. And if you're watching me and you have more than once or twice, you might have a similar view. If not, hey, there's lots of tarot readers out there that are very, very liberal and can interpret cards to justify that, so go find them. Okay, in the present position, we have the Knight of Pentacles, stable military action here, okay? In other words, strategy, chess moves, thinking 10 moves ahead. This was brilliant on the part of President Trump, offering support that would help secure Ukraine's borders, help their people to leave a time of conflict and begin to rebuild, help the United States to slowly recoup some of the huge investment that has happened. No matter how much got diverted, it still came out of taxpayer pockets and didn't go back into them. So eventually, we could recoup some of those funds. So stable military action, absolutely, and present with this offer that's on the table. It is brilliant. And he was a fool not to take it. And maybe he was a fool that agreed to be the fool. I mean, I don't know the extent of the games that are played, but that is always something to consider too. So it may just be part of the posturing that he agreed to play as he plays his part and plays out his role in these politics that seem to be unfolding in real time and may actually not be. We have the near future card is the Ace of Swords. The Ace of Swords is a victory and success card by itself. It also indicates a hard yes when there's a yes or no. Any of the aces do when there's a yes or no element to the question. And we asked, was that political analysis I shared with you earlier in the video, was it accurate? Or is Zelensky going to need to concede to those terms rather than his preferred terms? And we got a yes for that. The strongest insight here is one of my Mr. Trump cards, Mr. Trump, the King of Swords. So very clear thinking and analytical, and again, brilliant moves on his part. And then the nice card here, a reassuring card, is as a result of this, the needs of the people are going to come more into focus, and they're going to be honored, and it's not going to just be power plays and diverting funds and enriching individuals. We're going to be able to be more people-centered with Ukraine and the infrastructure repairs and that those poor people need. Not saying that the United States needs to take on that. I'm just saying that the country needs that, and they'll be able to do that once this deal is brokered. Okay, let's get a couple more cards. Again, I'm laughing. We've got the Five of Cups and the Five of Pentacles. So we've got several multiples that happened today. And we'll discuss those too before we quit looking at the cards. And our final cards, oh, here's a beautiful one. Ten of Cups for the Ultimate, and the Empress, another beautiful card that indicates the beauty of human life and the fact that the Ukraine people will prevail and flourish. And ultimately, things are going to get much better for them. And by golly, it needed to. The Five of Cups, I'm laughing because often this card has always indicated Joe Biden to me. And so the previous administration, because there's sadness, and they really messed a lot of things up. The things that they could have done right, that would have been people-centered and garnered support, just didn't happen with them. So there's a little sadness involved with those that are going to lose some easy money, things like that, as this deal gets signed and things change. And despite the fact that there will be a transition period that may be fairly tense, okay, and not as smooth as could be, the people are going to ultimately prevail, and they want to get on the other side of this. They've wanted to be on the other side of it for a long, long time, and they're going to with a beautiful outcome ultimately. So the time of conflict for Ukraine with Russia is coming to an end, and the Ukrainian people are going to be going to an interval, much needed peace and even safety. And we'll see what happens then as far as leadership choices go. Hopefully, they'll be able to make one that is truly a reflection of their choices and not another selection. So let's recap. I shared with you a political analysis, a short one, of what is that analyst considered to be the inevitable outcome of the stalemate right now between Zelensky and Trump, and that a deal that didn't get signed on the 28th of February. And according to that analysis, which Donald Trump shared on Truth Social, I shared with you, and I believe it to be fairly accurate. That's what we asked about. The administration in Ukraine, President Zelensky, is going to ultimately have to concede and sign for that and accept that he's going into partnership, a trade agreement with the United States instead of a conflict support agreement that he had hoped for. And we asked the universe for that, plus additional insights and information. Now, one of the things that was kind of interesting during the tarot read that I promised to address was the fact that we had quite a few multiples that showed up. We had 2 5s that showed up, which indicate difficulties, ongoing difficulties, and a need for change, a change of direction. That's what they worked when they worked together. That's what they're saying. We had a total of 3 6s show up. And this is saying success could be had because we have a yes that it is going to happen and confirmation that it will be successful with the multiple 6s. Now, the ultimate card for the Ukraine's situation and the people there is, even though the transition period going from conflict to peacetime and trade agreements rather than, conflicts is going to ultimately be very people-centered and beneficial, and they're ready. They're more than ready for a period of relief from conflict and drama, a chance to raise their families in safety, to not worry that a son that goes to the store for a loaf of bread is never coming home because he got conscripted on the way. They need to have that safety and a chance to lead their lives as they choose, and it's coming for them. It absolutely is. The hard yes showed up as far as the that analysis being correct with the Ace of Swords, and that was the results here. Now, if you want to look at every single card that was displayed, please just rewind the video and go back over the card elements, and you can see those. I just wanted to share the highlights here in the recap. So that's it for this video. I thank you so much for your time, your attention, and your viewership. I don't take you for granted. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. And if you're watching this after, I hope you had a wonderful weekend. And if you're willing to receive it, as always, I send you abundant love, light, and everything bright. Bye.